Welcome everybody, and thank you all for coming. How's our volume? Is it okay? We're supposed to be outside, but I think Randy would have appreciated this weather. I believe it's still morning, so this morning we're celebrating and remembering. And I really appreciate everybody making the time to participate in this event. We're celebrating the work and contributions of Randy Peterson, what he did for the Board of Public Utilities, and we're remembering a truly committed employee of the utility. I'd like to welcome Randy's wife Sue and her kids and grandchildren, along with Randy's family members, many of who traveled quite a long ways to be here. We also have several retired BPU employees and a number of Randy's close friends. I'd like to welcome our board members as well. Thank you for coming. Greg Rabb, Martha Zenz, and the mayor. I'm also pleased to welcome our current employees, many of whom maintain, upkeep, and repair a much larger and more complicated water system today than what existed for the Jamestown BPU when Randy started his work back in 1972 as a meter reader, cleaner, and inspector. One person that I'd like to welcome and thank for attending is the president of our Board of Public Utilities for the past 14 years and our mayor of the City of Jamestown, Sam Teresi. Mayor, would you like to say a few words in support of the celebration and remembrance?
Dave, what Dave didn't elaborate on is the reason why Randy loves this type of weather, because it is replenishing the aquifer that produces, together with the best public employees you're going to find anywhere in the country, the best public water supply that you're going to find anywhere in the country. And Randy truly loved the water system in this community. He truly loved his job. I think back to one of the last conversations that I had with Randy. I was at a Kiwanis Club dinner and stopped by the table where Sue and Randy were having their meal with Bill and Nancy Stevenson. They're here today too, right? Where'd Billy go? Nancy, there they are. And Randy and I had a great relationship. We didn't always see eye to eye on things. He didn't see eye to eye on things with everybody from time to time. But we had a good relationship, and often characterized by a lot of good-natured verbal jousting back and forth with him. And of course, I knew Sue Colander Peterson my whole life. She grew up just a few blocks up the street from me and was a good friend of my sister's. Went to Jefferson and the high school together. And I stopped by the table, and Sue and Nancy got up to go get their meals. And I was left alone with the guys. And I looked at him and I said, "You know, Peterson," I said, "you are one lucky guy." And I said, "who's married well above his station in life." And he looked at me and snapped back in that traditional Randy style, and he says, "Well, Mayor," he says, "that's the first thing you've ever said in your life that made any sense whatsoever." And he was right. Not that I haven't said things that made sense otherwise in my life, but he was right. She was a wonderful woman. He was blessed with a wonderful family. He knew that. He loved and adored Sue and the family. He loved this community. He loved his job for the City of Jamestown's Board of Public Utilities. He loved working with the people that he worked with. It was evident in what they produced every day, the legacy that he's left, and that's why what we're doing today is so appropriate, and I know it's going to be well appreciated. So thank you very much.
The mayor had the opportunity to work directly with Randy as part of the BPU for about 10 years, and I'd say several years prior to that with the Department of Development. I was fortunate enough to work with Randy, but only for 5 years. And I thought it important to hear from at least one additional person that worked closely with Randy for most of his 38 years. And I'm very pleased that our retired Deputy General Manager of the Electric Division, Mike Derrick, has agreed to speak about his remembrance of Randy. Mike?
This is really going to be off the cuff, Matt, because they had asked me about possibly speaking, and I'm not a great speaker. And of course, Randy, I spent 30-some years with him, so he's quite close to me. But then, as I was walking this morning, he decided to bless me with a rain shower and gave me basically a sign saying, "Hey, this is the last chance you're going to have to get at me and do something about me." And the one thing David asked me when he was starting to formulate some of this, how I felt doing something like this for Randy. Because there are so many dedicated employees at the Board of Public Utilities. But I looked at it as something that really honors Randy, not only as the dedicated, hardworking, innovative employee he was, but also the person who really was active in the community, cared about the community and the people in it. I remember after one of the parties that Randy and Sue always seemed to have, Randy was picking up the pop cans and bottles and all, and he was taking them out to the truck and ready to go someplace. And it's one of those things that Randy never did anything with any great fanfare. He always poked and jabbed at you, but a lot of things he did you never really realized. And he was headed off to take the pop cans and bottles, not to return them, but to sprinkle them along down on Washington Street and where the old dump was. Because there was Toothless Joe, who was a homeless fellow who was down in the dump, and Randy always kind of figured, well, it was something that he could do to help the guy. The guy kind of watched over the dump and the recycling area down there for Randy. And it was a way to give something to somebody, not a handout or anything, but a way for him to get a little something extra. And that's kind of Randy. He always did things without a fanfare, but always had a real caring heart for everybody. And so I look at this as saying, well, in the future, we can see his name and say, okay, maybe we ought to do a little bit more like Randy and care for others in the community and put back some of the love he had for the BPU, his family, and everyone else. Thank you.
I'd like to say that there's another Mike Sauer in the back, that made it very clear to me that Randy would have really appreciated keeping this brief and getting it over with. So in that light, I'll do my best. I say 5 minutes and then you can get me out of here. So to start with, I went back to the comments that I made at Randy's retirement party only a few short years ago. And I offer them again today as some of the things that I had seen from Randy that I'll always remember about Randy. He cared deeply about his job. He really took to heart the responsibility we all have. He cared about the utility, the services we provide in the community we live in. He prioritized his people and his subordinates above all else. And even when it may not have been apparent to a lot of the workforce, he truly cared about the people that worked for him. He fought for the people that worked for him. And he also cared a lot about the people that worked with him. He worked hard. He didn't want people to know it, but he really did work hard. He spent a lot of hours working for the utility that nobody else knew about or saw, and he was working at times when others were not. and a big portion of his life was dedicated to the BPU. He valued and cultivated relationships. He had contacts and working relationships with an endless list of people. Pretty amazing, really. He understood how important it is to be able to assist others so that they're available to assist you when the need arises. He had fun, and he loved what he did. He was dependable. When he said he was going to do something, he did it. He was creative and innovative, and he wasn't afraid to push the norm, to try something new and different, and to challenge the status quo. He was progressive. He read a great deal. The last few years with the utility, he started reading the Wall Street Journal, thanks to Jeremy. He followed new concepts, and he stayed current on both cutting-edge products and improved processes. Very importantly, he was results-oriented. He got things done, he got things implemented, he got things built, and it's a skill set that many people just don't have. And lastly, he was a leader. Sometimes he was a little difficult to follow. But he wasn't afraid of decision-making or the responsibility and sometimes the criticism that comes with it. He worked hard to prepare his people and his divisions to excel after his departure, and you all continue to do that. Today, we're all gathered here to celebrate and remember a great person, a good friend, a husband, a father and grandfather, a son, a brother, and a family member, a boss, a mentor, a professional engineer, a leader, and an innovative thinker. We're here to recognize and never forget the importance of our roles as utility employees to serving our community and our customers, and the tremendous responsibility we all have to do that well, with our knowledge, skills, and abilities, and with passion. I want everybody to know that whenever I stop by Eckloff's, I remember Randy. Whenever I go to Tasty Corners or the Bellevue, I remember Randy. These were the places where Randy had his meetings, where in a casual atmosphere, he cultivated relationships, he gave feedback, he took input, and he generated ideas. Even when I go to Tim Hortons, which is a lot, I remember Randy. When I go to the wastewater plant, I remember that Randy used to start his day there to check in on things. And whenever I come here to the water building, I remember Randy, and I'm thankful for all that he did for the water system and for the strength and the future of the water division. Well, when anybody goes by or thinks of the BPU Water Division, I think it's really important that they also remember Randy, and all of us continue to remember Randy for what he gave to us, what he meant to the utility, and what he provided to the community. Randy's contribution to the water system and to the growth and expansion of the area served, Randy's passion for the performance of the utility operations, Randy's concerns for his employees when it mattered most, and Randy's approach to work and life as a down-to-earth, fun-loving, and caring person. Randy did a great deal for the utility and for our customers. Randy did a lot for our employees, and personally, Randy did a lot for me and meant a lot to me. Because of all this, we would like to formally recognize Randy today and every day going forward. Mike, Sar, and Sue, if you could meet me outside, and if everybody else could safely escape from their seats. We'll try to move aside what Todd Hogan and his team have put up.
picture yet.
I think Sue wants to say a couple words. So
I did write some things down, but most of it was redundant, showing that Randy, the same thing wherever he went. He portrayed, he didn't change. Randy was Randy was Randy. And we never knew what would come out of his mouth. And we loved him. And he had that way about him. He popped in, checked on you, and disappeared. And it was either good or bad. But he was a special guy. He wouldn't move out of the city. He said, I work for the city, I'm living in the city. And it was when we built the house, he had retired, but thankfully, and he did not want to go elsewhere on the lake because we had city water. And this morning, when 11 people were getting ready to come, I was thankful we were on city water because I still had water. So it has been our life. And to see the growth of the water department, of the BPU, the expansion, the demolishment of Mabel's room, whoever remembers it, I do, and the change here, the poly pigging, that we all stood around and watched this thing come out of the pipe. And when we went to conventions, he really did go to the meetings, and he talked to people, and he brought back new things, and he wanted to try them. And he did. He loved his grandchildren. He loved the people he worked with. We had the parties. We laughed, and we cried, and it was tremendous. The first party we had, it rained, it snowed, it sleeted, it hailed. It was tremendous, and he worked to try to create a family wherever he was, and I feel that you're all family, and I am touched by so many, and thank you. It just